G'day Eagles fans and welcome to the Inside Swoop, proudly presented by Jim Beam, where we're talking all things West Coast Eagles. I'm Steve Bandy and I'm joined by 2018 Premiership hero, he's got written down here.
Oh boy.
Will Schofield. Great to be back by your side, mate. How we doing?
You wrote this rundown.
Lie.
And the last time I saw you was back chat, back at the club.
I know.
Coast to coast, a bit of all that. How good. It's good to be back.
Yeah, as it should be.
We've got a Monopoly board now at West Coast.
Do you like the little set we got here?
Am I on there?
Are you serious?
Park Lane, Mayfair.
Old Kent Road, I would have thought.
Okay, where does that put you?
The utility, you reckon?
Great. Oh, maybe a train station, perhaps? Just visiting?
That's terrible.
Free parking?
Yeah, no, not featuring. Maybe one of the symbols you can roll around with.
Very good.
Scoey, it's great to be back by your side. And it's such a shame that we're talking losses for round one, but that's the way the cookies crumble.
Yep. Went
down by 5 points to North on the road. Very disappointing when you've got a summer to look forward to, getting off on the right foot, and you go down to last year's Wooden Spooners. And I guess the inability to be able to wrestle control back in that first half, that was the killer when they piled on 6 straight, and that mountain was just too high to climb in the end.
Yeah, it was. It's disappointing. It's always going to be disappointing after a pre-season, especially coming off the year the club came off last year, two wins, the same as the Kangaroos. So, yeah, the wooden spoon goes to the Kangaroos, not something you want to win, but West Coast didn't have a good year last year either. So you go away, you work on things in the off-season, and that round one, that's really what that's about. It's not going to make or break your season, and you know, it's not all doom and gloom, but you want to win it. You want to show, you want to get some belief in the group. It's less about what you actually do and how you apply yourself and the game plan and coaches and players, and it's more about belief. So that's what takes the hit if you do lose. And, you know, good teams find a way to win the next week, which, if I can start the show with, I think West Coast are a good chance to beat GWS next week coming up. So, look, there were some issues I'm sure we'll have a bit of a chat about, but overall disappointing, yeah. But especially in footy, you can't just crack the sads because you lose round one. It's not all about round one, although it does mean a little bit.
Yeah, well, let's talk contested ball numbers, and it's not the first time I'm sure you've had to talk about that with the West Coast Eagles side. It's negative 37 against the Roos, and I'm sure that was another key emphasis over the off-season. Is it more disappointing that that's happened in round one when you've had another summer to prepare for such a key measurable stat?
Yeah, I mean, stats are an interesting thing in footy, and I never used to love them as a backman because stats usually said goals and behinds to the opposition forward.
Well, you got spoils, that's it.
Well, I mean, there's not much that the metrics that follow the defenders. So I am being serious in saying you can look at stats and that's fine. It gives you an understanding of how the game was played. But the contested ball numbers, disappointing, yes, but I think the way it probably happened would be what the coaches and the players would be focusing on. Fumbles, broken tackles, cough-ups when they did have the ball, missed handballs in close. Yes, there's a focus on the midfield because that's where a lot of contested ball is driven from, but I think it'd be less about stats. You look at that initially just to get a gauge on the game, but actual moments, I think, would what the club and what the players would be going through. And the good thing about it is you can fix stuff like that. That is something you can focus on at training and fix, and pretty immediately. It's difficult to change a game plan. It's difficult to go, all right, we've changed this way, that just doesn't work, it's not competitive whatsoever, and then the next week change that. That's the harder thing to change. Application, doing what you're meant to do in the contest is a mindset thing, so you can change that.
Talk to me on game plans. Have you had to throw a game plan out early doors in a season before, in your entire history?
No. And it's difficult to do that, and I think you can see when clubs do it, and it doesn't often result in something that is competitive. So to be competitive, you need to be really clear. You need to stay the course. So, look, I've been involved in a wooden spoon year under John Worsfold, and copped a lot of external criticism about playing young kids, about the game style that we had, about the fact that we weren't winning games, but he was the most, stern external leader that he just wasn't shifting, and he was unwavering. And so that, in my opinion, is more difficult to do, but that's what needs to happen if you think there are issues. Look, it's round one. Like yes, there was just disappointing elements to the game, but I didn't walk away, well, none of that's going to work. We need to just get young kids across the board and dump the team. Like it's round one, so there's plenty of time to work on things.
What about the 3 debutants in Noah Long, Campbell Chesser, Ruben Jinby? assuming you didn't move too far from your couch, very comfortable there. What did you like, what you saw on the box?
I was very glued to the TV. Sometimes I can be in and out and not paying much attention. Got a couple of kids at home, preparing for back chat perhaps.
Well, remember how you used to say you used to go and take showers when the team wasn't doing too well? You used to have to go and cool down,
Cool off.
literally.
No, I didn't do that, but I was quite frustrated. I always want to see West Coast do well. I look at the same for Fremantle as well, to be honest. I like seeing West Australian teams do well, and West Coast didn't start well. But talking about the young guys, look, if we break them down individually, Noah Long, I thought he worked into the game, and especially the second half. He did some things that were really crucial. He crumbed about 3 or 4 inside 50 crumbs that he was just in the right spot, and that was the tip on him coming into this season. He got to the right spot, he does the right things, he plays his role, and that's what it looked like to me.
I think his first touch, he was in the perfect position, forward 50, got gunned down very quick smart. And it was a quick reminder of how fast this AFL game is.
And I will say it was called Jack Petruccelli by the commentators, and I actually flicked a message to Fox Footy producers.
Helping him out, are you?
Well, I was less about helping the Fox Footy guys out and more in your first game. I think watching that back, if you're parents or family, it's important to get the name right. So they called it wrong twice. They missed him another time. I said, that's it, I'm texting Fox Footy. Campbell Chesser, look, I think he was solid. You've got to remember these are kids as well, and Campbell Chesser probably hasn't played a lot of footy over the last 3 or 4 years because of injury last year and probably a little bit through his juniors. So thought he was solid. And the obvious one's Ruben Jimby, how he played. To have 12 tackles, important. I don't think you want your first game of leading the tackles, but that's how it goes. He looks like a star, really. He's got the frame for it. He moves well, kicks well, speaks well. Ticking a lot of boxes, young Ruben.
He did, and he spoke to the media earlier in the week. This is what the number 9 pick in the draft had to say.
The whole experience flying over Thursday and then getting to the captain's run and punt road, and then probably took me half to, find my feet and get used to the speed of the game. Taller, probably bigger body midfielder is definitely where I see myself playing my footy. Second half, I just did my thing, which is try just win some contested footy and do the hard things like getting tackles. So I thought I found a bit more of the ball, and whenever I could, just hunting the footy, and ended up getting 12, I was happy with that.
Hopefully 300 game player there, Scully.
Well, 300 is a big ask, but he looks like a great player from all accounts, from players speaking internally. Great kid, works hard. That's all you want from a young player. You don't need them to be superstars and win the Rising Star, although I wouldn't put that past Ruben. But again, you don't need those expectations. You just want him doing the right stuff, and all 3 of those guys did that.
I just had 300 games on the mind because seeing Bunga back out there, can we just talk about how freakish it is? That he's just continuing to push further ahead and just have this record just drift further away from anyone else that is ever dreaming of catching him. Yeah, what an absolute freak of the game.
Yeah, he is. I mean, when you think about Shannon Hearn, the word that springs to mind for me is consistency. So I don't think we've seen too many bad games from Shannon Hearn across his career. Been a consistent leader. But what he does week in, week out, the way he's prepared. Look, the only inconsistency that I've thought of is the outfit that he wore that went across social media with the white jeans, no shirt, jacket.
Not a fan?
Very big fan. Just saying it's not consistent with his brand,
Absolutely
probably.
Not.
But there has been some talk in the AFL about players being able to wear their own kits, I think. So, look, maybe West Coast fans have got something to look forward to in that department. Shannon Hearn, gun, key pillar of the back line. He doesn't have the same penetrating dash that he probably was known for as a real youngster, but he can still kick the ball precisely and really sets them up from back there.
We've got Allen, Cole and Sheed returning to AFL footy, just the one game between all 3 last year in 2022. How instrumental are those 3 now club leaders to the structure of this footy club?
Yeah, I think of the 3, Oscar Allen probably gets the external pundits, licking their lips a little bit because of his talent, the ability for him to kick goals and be in front of the footy. But I do think all 3 play really important roles inside the team, and they're internally valued. Sheed will play a lot of midfield minutes this year. I think the club would like to spend a bit more time with Luke Shuey down back. I think they would like to spend a bit more time with Tim Kelly up forward kicking goals. So that leaves a Yo, a Jinby, a Sheed spending a lot of time in the midfield.
Do you think that's why we saw Shuey in the midfield so much? Because Yo couldn't play? Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah, again, this is just my eyes, but they had to put Shuey in. He's an exceptional stoppage player, and they were losing in that regard. So he started getting clearances, and he turned the game for West Coast in that second half for against North Melbourne. And then Tom Cole, what he does in the back half of the ground, he can play tall, he can play small, he can play high, he can play deep. He's a leader on field. He can give him any role. He can get his own ball. He can win contests. That's been his strength through his career, just being able to do everything well. He's not this, freakish kick. He's not this freakish speed guy, but he can do everything. So they're really, three important players. Good to see Oscar, kick a couple of goals and set his feet a little bit.
Absolutely. He hasn't played in over a year, and he spoke about his re-emergence into the AFL circle this week on Coast to Coast.
Pre was nervous, obviously. It's something where you just want to experience it, experience that body contact, experience stuffing something up, which I'm glad I got to do early. Just the atmosphere of playing in a stadium, I think, is a little bit different. So it took me a bit of time to adjust, and I found I was definitely rusty. There were some things that people wouldn't necessarily understand if they weren't playing, but my depth perception was one where sometimes I thought my teammates were closer to me than what they were, so I thought, they'll be able to make that kick, or sometimes I thought they were further away than what they were.
So Natanui's been ruled out, the St John of God medical report been released, so you're likely to go ahead with Jamison and Williams in the ruck again. We saw one of them subbed out, and we had Dommy Sheed in the ruck for a little while. I don't know how much work Dommy Sheed's done on his ruck craft over the summer, but wondering if that was a result of Cherry, however you pronounce his name, getting subbed out of the first quarter, saying we probably don't need these two ruck. What do you want to see going forward, or how do you see that playing out against the Giants this week?
Yeah, I mean, the club probably has a couple of options. They can go with Jamison and Williams and go again. Look, they're both untried as ruckmen in the AFL, let's be honest. They're both young players, and if you want to improve players at any position, whether it be ruck or defence or forwards, you need to give them time. So I think that's probably option one, going again with the guys and seeing if they can impose themselves on the contest a little bit more. I think that's probably where they lacked against a backup ruckman at North Melbourne with Cherry out of the contest. Option two, I know Jake Waterman played well in the twos in the win against Claremont in the Waffle practice game, so you could bring Jake Waterman into the team, give a bit more height and a bit more options that may mean that a Dom Sheed doesn't need to go in the ruck in the last quarter. But realistically, that sub was made because West Coast were chasing the game. So all that gets fixed with starting well, being in the contest, all the things we talked about at the start of this show, that all gets fixed. And the two guys can go at the ruck and be ahead of the game. But when you're chasing it, you're probably not going to play with two ruckmen on ground.
So we like celebrating milestones here on Inside Swoop. We've got Gaffey and JD breaking a club milestone. It's going to be the 235th game that they have played together as teammates, and it is knocking off a couple of your ex-teammates also. Unbelievable, credit to their durability and form over so many years.
Well, the partnership, right? They came to the club the same year, or are they 1 year apart?
They did.
So Gaffey came into the team as the super sub, would spend a lot of time in the green vest starting off, I think because of his slight frame, but we very quickly realised that he was as hardy as they come as a player.
We bounced off that Aaron Edwards hit.
Yeah, and I think there was just some fears that he wouldn't hold up to AFL footy, the rigours of it, his body size, but he did. And he's been an incredible player for a long time. And Jack Darling, I remember him debuting round one, and his tackling and his pressure that he put on in the forward line, which is a really underrated skill that Jack Darling possesses. You see him as this contested marking key forward, and obviously 2018 was, where he really announced himself on the scene as just this prime time key forward. And he's had a great career as well. So to see those guys play so much footy together, I know they're good mates. It's been good for the club.
Do you know who they knock off as the longest-serving duo partnership games record for the club? Without looking at the sheet that you just did?
Or listening to you off the start, Josh Kennedy and Shannon Ernst.
Did I say it at the start?
Yeah, you just told me.
Oh, I'm just trying to get you the answer, mate.
So guess what?
Just
I can't guess. Bugger and JK.
Well played. Well, while we're on potting people, you've got West Coast winning 3 of the first 5 games.
Yes.
Are you confident that's going to play out? You want to walk any of that back, or are you content that we'll find form and put a few on the trot?
How many games have we played?
Just the one.
So there's 4 to go?
That's correct.
So they can win 3 of 4? Is that possible?
Good math from you.
Right. Look, I've got to be, happy to self-deprecate here. I have not had a good start to the year with my predictions. But again, it is round one. It makes it difficult to win a flag after not winning round one. Only 2 sides have done that since 2007. Lost round one and won the premiership.
Wow.
And
Did you look that up yourself? You got a stats man?
I think I did it myself, so if it's wrong, you can blame me. And then the other one is bouncing back this week. If you go 0-2, only 7 sides since 2010. Sorry, 9 sides since 2010 have made finals after starting 0-2.
So you're Rain Manning right now.
I am a little bit. I had to do a bit of that during the week and just see where teams are at. So it's not the end of the world, but statistically and historically, it makes it difficult to make finals if you don't start well. And that is not around the quality of the team. Yes, there are some teams like that, but I think it's around belief within the group and the mindset. So Look, do I want to stand by my prediction of 3 of their first 5 games? Yeah, I do, until it can't mathematically happen.
Fair enough too. We're taking on the Giants this Sunday afternoon, who beat Adelaide. I'm sure you watched that game. After quarter time, they really flipped the switch and played some incredible football. And they dealt Adelaide a hefty blow. And Adelaide really taught us a lesson in the pre-season. I know you can't really do AFL. Well, if they beat us and they beat them and so forth. But it's also 3 pretty big outs for the Giants. Still a sizable challenge for this side at home.
Yeah, so Josh Kelly will miss. He's one of them. Perriman will miss.
And Whitfield also.
And Whitfield as well. So, look, they are 3 big outs, but I think you just take the team that is out there every week, as we saw with North Melbourne. They probably didn't have their best side available, and neither did West Coast. So, look, I do think West Coast bounced back this week. Even just from a mentality point of view, I think at home, historically haven't been a good side away from home. That's just a fact as well. So, I think at home against the Giants, they had I heard Toby Green speak about how hard this game was. He said it was the hardest game that he's ever played. He says, the hardest game I've ever played. Quote Toby Green. So, he had a fair few shots on goal, but it was really hot in Adelaide and they lost some soldiers along the way. So they didn't have a big bench, they had to work really hard. I think it'll be a good game. Both sides building and both sides trying to have a better year than last year, and I'm excited to watch it.
Let's talk the superstore forward just briefly for the Giants in Toby Green with his 4 goals last week. Normally a job for a Jackson Nelson to just say, go to his hip pocket. And
Brad Shepherd probably before.
That's correct, and did a real good job on him, Sheps used to do. He's missed 3 of the last 5 times that we've played the Giants, can you believe? But he's taught us some lessons prior to that in the past. Put your coach's hat on for a minute.
Okay.
Who would you send to him?
They've probably got a couple of options. Probably Tom Cole would be my first go-to. Off the back of what I said about Coley earlier, is his ability to just do things well. I think at stages during my time as a player in that back line, when Shep wasn't available, Tom Cole was probably the next up. So he's probably evolved his game a little bit out of that lockdown defender though, but he can do the role. Probably a little bit of left of centre. One would be Jaden Hunt. I think a lot of people see Jaden as a run and gun and attacking guy, and that's what he's in the team for, the speed, the breaking the lines. But what he did at Melbourne last year was he played a lot of lockdown stuff, and I think his defensive side has improved. I wouldn't be surprised in seeing a Jaden Hunt running there, or break glass in case of emergency. I think you could send Tom Barrass to him and play a taller player on Toby Green. Given how deep he plays, it would be a really big challenge though, given his versatility and his mobility.
Right, I know that they wouldn't dare let you near match committee, but put it on one more time for me. Who do you want to see a lift from, or who do you think might emerge from that waffle victory, as we spoke about earlier, against the Tigers, and see lining up on Sunday afternoon?
I think with the contested ball side of things, a couple of names that jumped off the page for me was Jai Cully if available.
Big pre-season from Jai.
Yeah, and so big pre-season, he can do that contested stuff. He's a big tackler. Yeah, Greg Clark's a bit of a bigger body as well that I think he got through well in that waffle game. So yeah, potentially those two there. And I mentioned him before, Jake Waterman reportedly had a really good game playing forward, back, ruck. He did a bit of it all, got his hands on the ball, and yeah, I think you could quite easily slot Jake Waterman back into that team as well.
Nice. Well, fans, there are still plenty of seats available for the chartered flight for the West Coast Eagles for season 2023. So if you have a chance to fly with the team, either one way or return, as well as attending the away game, head to westcoasteagles.com.au/travel. You a bit flat you missed the chartered flight experience?
I would have liked an invite, to be really honest. I'm happy. I'm happy to serve, make a couple of coffees, a couple of teas. We bring the tray up and down. Is that what happens or no?
Yeah, but not as often as the commercial ones. I was flagging them down quite a bit.
Right.
Saying, get
you
back on.
did used to load up when you got the free flight.
When you got a frame like this, you got to, mate.
Right. If you do want to put the invite across, happy to. I won't be volunteering that.
Okay, fair enough. Before we go though, Scully, I want your opinion on this. What are your thoughts on the young fellas at the MCG taking a footy home, courtesy of the AFL, free of charge? Are you backing this kind of behaviour in? Would you like to see Nashi take some footies home for free when he gets to this age, or what?
Don't tell me to make a moral decision on it. Like, I love it.
Would you be doing it?
I would love to be doing it. Yeah, I love it. I think the AFL. Do they need footy? Have they got enough footy?
They give them out like candy in the NFL.
But what the AFL and what responsible people will be thinking, well, we can't have everyone doing that any time a ball gets kicked in the crowd. So please don't do that if you're at Optus Stadium this weekend. But if you're asking my opinion, I bloody love it.
You would have loved it. Went over the boundary line, you get a bit of a break as a key defender. When the ball goes out, we've got to get a new footy.
I mean, they've got footies lying around in bags. Like, Oh, yeah. Look, it was opportunistic. Has he been able to keep it, do you think?
Unsure. How are they tracking him down, to be honest?
He got interviewed somewhere. I saw it earlier this week. Yeah.
Pretty good. Scully,
Yes.
absolute pleasure to be back by your side and
Yes.
for the entire season to come. Let's hope there's more victories to be speaking about. And great to have your company this week. Hope you enjoyed it.
Would you like me to dress up next week, or are you happy with this kit?
No, I think it was an A kit. Maybe I'll come in my Bintang singlet next time and we'll look a little similar, eh?
You haven't bought new shirts since the last time I saw you.
Thought I'd dress up for you, mate. That's it for the Inside Swoop. Courtesy of Jim Beam. We'll see you next week.